All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wade Kyle, and I'm with LA Progressive, and I have with me Chris Kluwe. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, no problem. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
All right. So, the first time I ever saw you, Chris, was on a YouTube video that I'd seen of a city council meeting where you stood up and you actively expressed your First Amendment right of freedom of speech, and it was not well received.
MAGA stands for trying to erase trans people from existence. MAGA stands for resegregation and racism. MAGA stands for censorship and book bans. MAGA stands for firing air traffic controllers while planes are crashing. MAGA stands for firing the people overseeing our nuclear arsenal. MAGA stands for firing military veterans and those serving them at the VA, including canceling research on veteran suicide. MAGA stands for cutting funds to education, including for disabled children. MAGA is profoundly corrupt, unmistakably anti-democracy, and most importantly, MAGA is explicitly a Nazi movement. You may have replaced a swastika with a red hat, but that is what it is. I will now engage in the time-honored American tradition of peaceful civil disobedience.
Get the heck, get out.
However, I did want to ask, about your, intentions to step up to the plate and express your freedom of speech, and what really led up to that advocacy.
Yeah, so for those unfamiliar, it was at a Huntington Beach City Council meeting where the City Council was going to approve the installation of a MAGA plaque on our public library. The plaque had an acrostic that spelled out MAGA going down in the largest font on the plaque. So they weren't being very subtle about it. And the reason why I felt like I had to do something more than just making public comment is that I've been going to these city council meetings for I think 2.5 years now, maybe 3 years, and the city council doesn't listen to us. They don't they give us public comment, but then they never really engage with that actual public comment in terms of okay, these points were brought up, maybe we should discuss them, right? A lot of people are upset about this. Maybe we should reconsider what we're doing. and if you go to a Huntington Beach City Council meeting, or if you just watch one online, then you'll see there's this sort of sense of resigned anger in a lot of the speakers, because they know they want their voices to be heard, but they also know that the city council isn't interested in listening to them. And so on that particular issue, I was like, okay, they've been screwing with our library for over 2 years at this point, and I really need them to understand that what they're doing is not okay. I mean, libraries are supposed to be apolitical spaces. They're spaces where anyone can come in, anyone can read a book, and there might be books in there that you don't agree with, and that's fine. Just don't read those books. It's really easy. And so the fact that they were trying to put on our public library a MAGA acrostic, I'm like, okay, well, this is representing what Huntington Beach is, and I don't want my city to be represented by the MAGA movement, because I think the MAGA movement is toxic to the idea of America. It's a profoundly un-American movement, and I said that in my speech, and I equated them to the Nazi movement because they're going down a lot of the same path, the same steps that the Nazis did. I mean, they went after trans people. That was the very first thing the Nazis did. Now they're installing their secret police to come whisk people off the streets and arrest lawmakers. There was the New York state comptroller just got arrested today as he was trying to escort a person out of immigration court. And if ICE really wants to go after illegal immigrants, you don't go after them at immigration court, because those are the people that are trying to do it the right way. It's ridiculous. And so for me, it was seeing what I saw from MAGA at a national level, and then kind of seeing that same thing happening in Huntington Beach as a microcosm of all that. I was like, someone needs to do something, right? Someone needs to stand up. And this was back when our elected officials weren't doing anything. And I had been waiting for them to do something. And I was like, okay, well, I can't ask them to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So I guess it's got to be me. I guess I got to do something. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the truth. And everyone appreciates the fact that, it starts with you. Everyone's got to do something, right? Mm-hmm. Cannot just be silent as tyranny really oppresses our rights.
Mm-hmm.
So the second time we ran into each other, actually, it was the second time I saw you was our first time actually meeting in person. And it was at the We the People event that was held in Palos Verdes by the Indivisible Club. And this time, when you came up to speak, it was very well received. And so I was, I really appreciate the speech you gave and the points that you made. And so, it was very well received and everyone was excited. So I wanted to just kind of revisit, some of the highlights of that day for you.
Yeah, so for me, a lot of these speaking engagements really is just kind of talking to people and letting them know that, we should be fighting and it's okay for you to feel angry right now, but just channel that anger into something constructive. And you don't necessarily have to do the same thing I did. Like, I mean, let's be honest, as a tall, straight white man with a lot of money, like I can afford to take risks that a lot of other people can't afford to take. Right? But there are other things you can do. You can show up to your city council meetings. You can help volunteer for local campaigns. You can get the word out. Like there's so many, you can even provide snacks. Like sometimes people get tired, they need snacks. Like everything you do is better than doing nothing. Even if you think it's something so small that it's insignificant, nothing is insignificant. And it's going to take all of us to defeat the rise of fascism in our country, because if people feel like, oh, I can't get involved because I don't want to do the really big stuff, well, you're selling yourself short. Like we need people to do all the jobs, not just the high profile jobs. And so when I've been speaking at these events, like a lot of it is trying to relay that message that like, we just need to come together as Americans and decide that we are going to continue pursuing the American dream. And, obviously we've never really achieved the American dream because this country still has a lot of problems that, we need to address on a daily basis. But I think it is a dream worth pursuing because it is a dream that says everyone is equal and everyone has the same opportunities to achieve happiness in their life. And I think that's worth fighting for.
Oh, most definitely. And so as we had kind of talked about a little bit earlier, it's not often we get a football player right on this platform, because it's there's nothing more American than football, you know what I mean?
Right.
So are our constitutional rights. And so this weekend we just came off the No Kings rally, which was huge. Did you get an opportunity to participate in the rally?
Yeah, I did actually. So I was actually supposed to speak in Portland for a convention. I was an LGBTQ plus convention hosted by Athlete Ally. And unfortunately, like I had to call up the head guy, his name's Hudson Taylor. And I was like, hey man, like I'm not going to be able to make it because like there's all these No Kings rallies going on and like I need to be at my local one. Like and especially because this was right after Senator Padilla had been arrested. I was like, if they're arresting like sitting U.S. senators, like who has every right to be in that building and to ask questions from our DHS secretary, Kristi Noem, like if they're doing that, then like the shit really is hitting the fan right now. Like we all need to show up. And so, yeah, so I showed up at our local one at Huntington Beach. It was right at the pier, right where PCH kind of hits Main Street. And it was awesome to see because even though the MAGA crowd got there early, they had the big boat flags that, rise like 30 feet in the air. And obviously they don't follow flag code because they have the Trump flags above the American flags. It's like you don't even care about the country. Like if you're flying Trump above the American flag. But as people started showing up, they started getting wildly outnumbered. Like we normally protests in Huntington Beach or rallies in Huntington Beach, it's usually like kind of take the pier plaza and then the corners opposite, and it's anywhere from like 200 to 400 people. Like they're usually not very big. For this No Kings rally, we had protesters stretching from 1st Street all the way up to 7th Street, which is pretty close to half a mile. And like this for Huntington Beach, that is amazing turnout. Like in the vast majority of people were there to protest against Donald Trump. And so, yeah, it was really good to see. And I think a lot of people really take heart in, being around other people that like understand the gravity of the situation. And that's one thing I also recommend to people is that if you can make it to a protest, if you're not like worried about something happening, like do try to go to a protest or a rally, because it will really fill you with a lot of energy when you see it's not just you out there. Like you're not alone. There are so many other people that understand what's going on is wrong, that we want to fix our country.
No, I totally agree. And I truly uplift the fact that you chose to be at a local protest. Local advocacy is super important because it shows your elected officials how you feel in your area. It's not like you went downtown to say you disagree. You chose to do it in your neighborhood, and your elected officials need to know. And really applaud, citizens like yourself who choose to make the individual commitment to be there and to make sure that your elected officials hear your position and understand. This is important. We've never been in a situation like this before.
Yeah, no, it really is unprecedented. I mean, like and the thing that really sucks is that this could be solved in an instant if the Republicans decided to do their jobs as required by the Constitution. Because right now, the GOP controls the Senate, they control the House of Representatives. They could impeach Donald Trump at any point they want for his many, many, many crimes that are clearly being committed. And the fact that they're choosing not to do that tells you they've abnegated their duties. They've decided they do not want to function under the United States Constitution. They are interested in pursuing something else. And therefore it falls upon us as Americans. Sorry for the dog.
I see how your dog feels about Trump, right?
Yeah, it just sets her off. So, but yeah, it falls on us as Americans to show up and say what you're doing is un-American.
Correct. And on top of that, they choose to ignore, the crime.
Sorry, if you want to pause real quick, my kids are getting home.
Not a problem. I'll pause it. All right. So we just kind of heard about how your dog felt about Trump, triggered a reaction in your dog. Right?
Yep. That's how bad it is.
That's how bad it is. It truly is. And looking into the future, as you are stepping up in your game in terms of supporting the public, standing up to say that this oppression of the United States is unforgivable, the oppression of our rights. What are your future plans? Yeah,
so my future plans, I am very seriously exploring running for the state assembly position in California District 72, because that's one where Diane Dixon is stepping down, I believe, to run against Katrina Foley for superintendent. And so it's going to be an open race. One of our Huntington Beach City Council members, Gracie Vandermark, has announced that she will be running for the Republican nomination for that. And if you don't know Gracie Vandermark, she is a really bad person who does not care about the city of Huntington Beach. She does not care about the state of California. What she cares about is getting on Fox News, getting more attention, and then raising her own political sort of atmosphere. That's really all she cares about. She just wants the power. She doesn't care about using it to help everyone in a city or everyone in the state. And that's what public officials aren't supposed to do. As a public official, you are a public servant. You are there to serve everyone in your constituency, regardless of whether or not you personally agree with them. Your job is to make everyone's lives better. And we may disagree on how to do that, but if you can't admit that certain people are allowed to exist, say the LGBTQ community, you should not be serving in public office. It's really that simple.
Right. That's amazing. Well, good luck to you. And I hope you have an awesome afternoon. Thank you very much for your participation today. And we look forward to doing some future interviews, in a couple of months.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wade. I really appreciate the time.
No problem. I really appreciate you too. Take care.
All right.
Thank you for sticking around. If you like the LA Progressive content and the discussions we have here, please consider clicking the subscribe button below and also give us a thumbs up. That helps to grow our audience by feeding the algorithm, which helps to get this content in front of more eyes. Thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate your support.